Hey guys, my name is Tetos and in this video I'm going to tell you how to play Irelia like Wickd. I have analyzed Wicked's Irelia play and will give you not only recommended runes, masteries or champion combos, but also a general game plan as well as how to play the laning phase and team fights. The basic idea behind this series is that if everybody would be able to copy our favorite pro players to the teeth, we all would be challenger. Of course, that's probably not possible, but even if you're only half as good as them, you'll probably rise easily in your current division. Before we start, let me tell you that this is not a basic champion guide, so you should definitely check out Riot's Champion Spotlight as well as the Wickd champion page. I've linked both of these in the description and I've also put timecodes for each chapter there. Let's start off with the summoner spells. Teleport and Flash is Wicked's choice 100% of the time, so he never chooses any other summoner spell. Teleport is necessary for the free back it gives you to gank other lanes like mid lane and bottom lane, as well as for the split pushing potential in the mid and late game, because Wickd really loves to split push and then he can join fights if necessary or just continue split pushing and applying pressure in any lane he wants to. Of course, Flash also necessary because it's the best escape spell in the game for Irelia. It also allows her to combo certain spells. For example, you can flash stun or flash Q and then stun to cover a large distance and get an unexpected 2-second stun off with your E, so that's why flash is also mandatory. Let's take a quick look at Wicked's two rune pages that he's using. The first one is a standard page, gives you everything you need for Irelia, but of course the second one is picked sometimes against AP heavy enemy lineups. For example, if your enemy top laner and jungler do AP damage, then you want the flat MR instead of the scaling MR. But other than that, you can probably get away with using the page 1 in almost every game that you're playing on Irelia. For Masteries, Wickd always goes 21, 9 and 0, so very deep into the offense tree. Now he's either picking attack speed and frenzy mastery, which gives you attack speed on critical hits, or CDR combined with the double-edged sword mastery, which gives you of course increased damage but also increased damage taken. Now you want to be very careful when choosing the mastery page, but basically you want to pick double-edged sword almost always, except if you're not confident, if you think you might get camped by the jungler, if you think that you might take a lot of Harris in lane, then it's not smart to take the double-edged sword mastery. Other than that, of course, attack speed or CDR is both very valuable. You can choose yourself what you wanna pick. Wickd maxes R before W, before E, before Q, so that's your basic skill order. Then for level 1, 2 and 3 it depends on how he starts and how he plays the game, what the matchup is like, if he invades or if he pushes early very hard. But basically he almost always starts Q, then at level 2 he picks E, and then at level 3 he picks W. However, if he wouldn't start Q, then he would always take Q at level 2 and then the remaining spell at level 3, so keep that in mind. Let's talk about something rather interesting for a second, which is item builds and build order. Let me start off by telling you some basic tendencies Wickd has. Of course, the flask pot start with the warding totem is pretty standard. Almost 99% of his games he starts this way. Then the Triforce Rush, of course, for Irelia also mandatory. Then we have some other very interesting item choices. Usually he builds a Hexdrinker or a Last Whisper after Triforce. And he likes to get the Berserker's Greaves. Also, he likes to upgrade the Hexdrinker to the Maw when he's snowballing, and he likes to pick up a Frozen Mallet to close out games and, chase people down so they can't escape anymore, even when he doesn't have a red buff. I've already talked about the starting items and some of the core items, but the supposedly tank items just mean that they aren't really tank items, except for Randon's Omen, and he doesn't pick it up very often. He rarely, if ever, buys items like Garden Angel, Thorn Mail, or Frozen Heart, Spirit Visage, Banshee's Wail. He doesn't really buy these items. Instead, he sometimes, gets the Quicksilver Sash, or he often gets it actually, and upgrades it to the Mercurial Scimitar often as well, which is quite interesting. Sometimes he goes for the CDR boots as well, which you wouldn't expect actually on Irelia, but it works for him. And if you want to emulate his play, you could do the same and try to make it work as well. Finally, let's talk about the game plan you should have when playing Irelia if you want to emulate Wicked's play. First off, he pressures top lane non-stop. That means he stays in lane for long periods of time. He always tries to drop pressure top. Usually he will get ganked by not only the jungler but also the mid laner, so he relieves pressure from elsewhere. he is very good at playing aggressive without dying sometimes. So of course sometimes he gets caught out, he feeds, but most of the time he knows very well to read his opponent and get back and, you know, back off when the enemy jungler is nearby. Also, he prioritizes farm heavily. He usually tries to get all the CS if possible. He rarely backs if there's a wave hitting his turret, and he's abusing his teleport to get even more CS or kills. He usually doesn't really blow his teleport for anything else but farm or kills. Then he also is very good at abusing his Triforce power spike, so it means he starts diving people then if they underestimate his power spike. And also, what I've noticed is that he likes catching people off guard by abusing the Fog of War, or in the mid and late game he will sometimes camp in a brush for like 10-20 seconds and wait for somebody to come by. If he thinks somebody's gonna pick up, for example, a rather big top lane wave, then he will sit there, camp there and kill the people when they arrive and try to pick up the farm. Also, split pushing is essential to victory, because I've noticed that he doesn't really group that much. If he does, it's either because he gets caught, goes back, his team saves him, and then he, you know, turns around to fight, or he teleports to a fight. But other than that, he just stays in lane, gets turrets, gets inhibitor, and that's basically also a way to push to victory, and this is what he's doing on Irelia. And Irelia is very good by at splitting and pushing towers because of her Triforce proc. Of course, the Sheen proc deals massive amounts of damage to buildings and structures very quickly. Before we talk about laning and team fighting, I will show you two basic ability combos you can use when playing Irelia. The first one is a very basic Q to a minion, flash and E combo. As you can see here, it's gonna be slowed down in a second. So dash to a creep with Q, flash and then E to stun. Of course, Wickd messes this a little bit up here and only gets the slow, but when done properly it can be very powerful. The second one is the QQE combo. It just abuses the fact that you can get the reset on a creep once again. And as you can see here, Wickd uses this perfectly to get a stun off when he's already low, almost dying. He backs off at the right time and his team gets the ace for him. Let's take a look at the laning phase now. As you can see, in some matchups it can be beneficial to push the wave very hard at level 1, camp in the top rush, don't wait for the 4th pot. Instead, you know, use your time to get some CS and experience while Chase is just on his way to lane, otherwise he would have got harassed early. Now, also, you can abuse level 2 power spike very nicely with Irelia. You can, you know, he backs off very nicely here, gets the Q on the creep, immediately gets level 2, specs into E, gets the stun, gets some nice damage, of course takes a turret shot here, so that's why it's a little bit bad, but other than that it was a great play. Also, remember to use a trinket around minute 3 to minute 4, depending on when you know where the jungler started. It can help you immensely to avoid these early ganks which put you very far behind. Also, notice how he always plays confident. Wickd always tries to play aggressive. He has a ward here, so he's kinda safe from jungler ganks, but still chunks Shyvana very heavily. Now the last clip I want to show you for the laning phase is how easy it is to last it on the turret, but still you have to be careful when you get pushed and your own creeps also hit the enemy creeps. But normally you just use your Q and your W if you don't have enough AD to last hit the caster minions with a single auto attack. With the W active you should be able to do it, and with AD runes. So you can see he didn't lose a single CS. When teamfighting as Irelia, you rarely actually teamfight, you usually want to split push, but Wickd sometimes groups or gets caught, and then the clip, you know, shows exactly this, and it turns into a teamfight. You can see he is very low at the start of the fight, but it's important to abuse your stun to its full potential. Use it because it's very low CD and, you know, actually very long duration stun, and it's point and click ability, so not really hard to hit. Here he gets it on Rek'Sai. First off, she's the first victim of the fight, and now instead of backing off, he stays. Wickd just knows that he can get the stun on Morgana or Lucian in this fight, and he gets the double Q off on the creep, and on Lucian gets the stun. Black Shield not fast enough, and the team gets the ace. In this next 4v5 fight, we can see how it's beneficial to sometimes hold on to your Q. Here he stuns Lucian first and then uses his Q to reposition, get out of the fight when he gets low. So he gets the CC down, he already has done his job in this fight, and his team can get the kills. In the last clip you can see the basic TP home guard ganks, but of course you can also see the difference when he doesn't hold on to his Q. For example, he could get in range with the home guards and get the stun, but instead he used the Q and Lucian gets low health, and he only gets the slow because of this. Finally, I want to highlight some key factors which go hand in hand with the game plan I showed you before rolling the first clips. So here you can see standard fog of war abuse, nobody can see Irelia, and he, catches somebody off guard when trying to clear a ward, gets the free kill. Second example of the very same scenario, or a similar scenario, is when he camps in the brush for a couple of seconds and anybody's gonna come by and pick up the wave. Of course, Lucian here is the victim. He gets the stun off and he doesn't even fight back, gets the free kill, gets the free gold. So, next clip. We're going to talk about reading your enemy. Here you can see, even without a ward, of course there were some pings on the minimap, but still it's important to have the map awareness to see these things. So he backs off, he knows that Chase is not last hitting, he's instead chasing him downstairs, something is off, he goes back. No jungler is showing yet, so he still doesn't know if the jungler is here, but he, instead of going back to CSing, boards the brush, sees Nidalee and backs off without dying. Another key factor when playing Irelia like Wickd is to be confident. As you can see here, he even dives the Shyvana who has her ultimate up. He gets the kill successfully and just shows his amazing game knowledge and champion knowledge. Another clip which shows how heavily he prioritizes farm. This is just the cherry on the cake, just really describes Wickd's play to the core. You can see here he gets the control of the lane when harassing Chase, who is heavily underleveled. He stays in lane, gets all the CS. He doesn't back off at any point in time during this. He pushes, continues to push, waits until his ultimate is back up, clears the wave, and now he goes back, and you can see a very, very weird play in some eyes, but it's just like textbook Wickd play. He goes back, buys his items, goes back to lane. Now he goes back to lane, he sees there is a wave hitting his turret quite soon. Chase is pushing hard, so instead of going back, he uses his teleport just to get these 6 last hits, which might be worth, but in most games, when you lose your teleport advantage like this, it's pretty bad. So as you can see, Chase goes bottom lane, gets a kill or doesn't. It doesn't really look like it's a very successful gank, but he stays top for ages. Counter jungling, of course, also another very good method to get even further ahead. He gets the turret, gets the global gold. He wants to back now, but he sees, okay, there's another wave, and he still gets it. And now he backs, and his mid lane turret already has gone down. He might have even been able to save it, but he didn't choose to do so. I want to show you the game plan once more. Nothing has changed, it's still the same image, but you should finally be able to put everything into perspective and hopefully improve your Irelia play with this guide. I see you've made it until the end. I hope you could learn something new today, and thanks for liking and sharing this video. Feel free to leave a comment down below on what guide I should do next. Also, check out the description where you can find me on social media, and don't hesitate to tweet at me or write me a message and tell me how you liked the first episode. Thanks for watching, until next time, bye bye.